the integral design management towards future for risk prevention in the coastal city, presented by Jorge López Ortiz. Jorge is a postdoctoral researcher in the architecture graduate program at the Autonomous University of Yucatan. He's a doctor in urban planning from the National Autonomous University of Mexico with the comprehensive hydrometeorological risk prevention model in the city of Veracruz. You can read about his considerable and very impressive list of other accomplishments on the conference website. I'll also put a link to those in the profile in the chat. This session will last 30 minutes. It'll be recorded. Tatiana and I are here to support you if you have any issues or questions. Please submit your questions and comments via the chat or the Q&A pod, and we'll make sure that they're transmitted. So with that, I'll hand it to you, Jorge.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, having me here, and let me talk about my projects. And let me show you a video, because I thought it was really an easier way, because my English is not very good looking. So in order to say what I want to say, I recorded previously a video. It will be short, so we can speak about your questions. Just give me a second. And now, can you see? Yes, you can see the presentation, right?
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute myself, stop my video, and start speaking. Hello, everyone. My name is Jorge López Ortiz. I am a doctor in urban planning from the National Autonomous University of Mexico, and I am currently doing a postdoctoral research stay at the Autonomous University of Yucatan in the city of Mérida. My research focuses comprehensive design management aimed at mitigating flood risk in urban areas with tropical climates. Today, I will talk to you about integral design management towards the future for risk prevention in the coastal city. I will start by telling you about the research process and the problems that are addressed. Now, with the problem, intensity and frequency of extreme precipitation phenomena. I'm sorry, let's see. Everything okay? Okay, sorry. I thought it was a problem. No.
Yes.
Can you see the presentation, right? The video.
Right now, yes, but when you
Okay.
cuando la empiezas a presentar, se ve un cuadrado negro.
Oh, okay. Let me check what's going on. Maybe is this the Zoom. Okay. Are rising in tropical countries. Sorry. Global warming. We have time. It's not okay. Increase heat in the ocean, hurricanes get stronger. Integral prevention requires consolidation of management policies and civil protection. Management programs respond to contingency and emergency. The more exposure, fewer resources to rebuild and recover. The risk assessment is an isolated topic. Requires a strong entailment between the government, the academy, the private sector, and the communities. It is important to contextualize the research that the focus falls on the study of hydrometeorological risk. This means that what is analyzed is not the period that includes the management of emergency and disasters, but rather a previous step where the possibility that a threat may impact a site to plan prevention strategies. Now, with this, I study the risk, hydrometeorological risk. Now, Mexico is located on the American continent in the Gulf of Mexico. Its territory is exposed to the path of tropical storm in both the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. The case study is located in the country's Gulf of Coastal Plain, where the main threats that affect its cities are hydrometeorological events such as floods, storms, droughts, and cold fronts. It is important to know that the American continent receives a strong number of hurricanes each year, only behind the Asian territory, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, where Mexico, the United States, and countries and islands of Central America and the Caribbean are located. In the case of 2020, there was a record activity in the number of hurricanes where the Greek alphabet had to be used in the classification of names. As you can see, we have a territory that has a lot of hurricanes in this area. Besides, it is important to note that international models and agreements, such as the Sendai and Hyogo frameworks on comprehensive risk and disaster management, have not had a satisfactory response in terms of damage, direct and indirect effects, and deaths in populations, particularly in the American continent, mainly because they address the problem from a perspective of post-disaster correction and adaptation. Therefore, it is necessary that if we talk about design based on the future, mechanisms oriented towards prevention and mitigation are established to plan the territory and reduce risk. Regarding the case study, it is the territory of the city of Veracruz. Now, about this, the state of Veracruz is exposed to hurricane and flooding impact. From 2010 to 2017, except for 2015, a hurricane has impacted the state territory. Urban growth generates ecosystem fragmentation and limits environmental services and protection barriers to the city. Coastal city transformation without an integral development strategy increases flooding vulnerability of the population. The city lacks of risk prevention planning. Its program and plans focus only on emergency. So rebuild and recovery action does not change or question the current models. In this image, it is possible to see the possibility of hurricane impacting base of its formation zone through the tracing of course to analyze its trajectories. As you can see, if the hurricane appears in this area of the Caribbean, it is possible that it might impact the Veracruz city and the Veracruz state. This is the Veracruz state and this is the city of Veracruz. And it's important to note that historically in Mexico and in the state, the main disasters that had impact have been hydrometeorological rather than geological and biological. So about the state of the art, Veracruz is the city with the highest population density in the state. Integral risk management is a process that seeks to reduce the impact of hazards, to strengthen the inherent processes of sustainable development and the integrity of the population. Civil protection programs integrate the concept of integral risk management towards adaptation, not prevention. Deficiency in risk management policies establish that they must be mitigated or adapted, but not prevented. The more investment in emergency and contingency during and after the event makes less death, but higher cost in recovery. Now, in 2010, the Hurricane Car impacted the city of Veracruz, causing many economic losses and deaths because the inability of the population and its authorities to respond to a phenomenon such as a Category 2 hurricane was not recognized, causing these scenarios that you can see in these pictures. This happened in 2010. In these maps, you can see the city and the behavior of the floods that last for several days due to the low urban permeability and the amount of excess rainfall that occurred. But, however, this was during the extreme event in 2010. The issue is that these extreme scenarios are experienced daily in the city because of the urban infrastructure, human activities, and the way in which urbanity develops and expands do not respond to the characteristics of the ecosystems of the territory, generating conditions of vulnerability to flooding and the effects of intense rains and extensive risks such as cold fronts and waves. This is a normal day with an intense rain. And this is because the way we develop the city. is not because of the hurricanes. Now, the way to address this problem is established from this line of research. The construction of an integral risk prevention decision model makes possible an organized response in terms of preparedness for the effects that hydrometeorological hazards generate in the city of Veracruz, mitigating in a differential way the impact on the population, buildings, and infrastructure of the city. Now, this decision model established steps to organize decision-making agents and participants in risk management with a cyclical and evaluable process that allows understanding the complexity of the territory and the phenomena that affect them. Now, it starts from the characterization of the risks in the territory. The threats are tracked and monitored. Now, the community is analyzed to identify adaptable groups and vulnerable groups. Based on this, means are established to make strategies and instruments to apply the model on the site. Then, urban strategies are proposed to mitigate the risk. And finally, guidelines are established to evaluate the actions of the model of the model to provide feedback and renew it with new work routes. Now, we already know the model, now we apply it to the site. The territory is analyzed and characterized through cartography and geographic information systems. This is starting from a base map with the land use. So a coastal city is observed where lagoons have been absorbed into its urban matrix. These are the urban wetlands in the city. And then we have the risk characterization and we have the trends of the flooding. Now, the risk is characterized through modeling of maps with proximity buffers to flood zones and flood trends. These are the trends that you can see in the city, and now this is the buffer of proximity. As you can see, the city is usually in vulnerability or exposed to flooding. Now, a map is made to distinguish three risk zones based on their topographic and soil characteristics, distinguishing flood zones in the center, some with low risk on the coast due to their capacity to discharge towards the sea, and an intermediate zone that has the area's regulation of excess rainfall. This is the high risk zone with the wetlands, and you can see the streams. No? Now, based on the first map, the issue of social marginalization is added, where it is observed that in the areas with the greatest risk, there is more social backwardness. So it is important to establish measures that differentially serve the city. In order to establish mitigation measures, the most important thing is to know the community and for it to participate in the design and planning processes of safe measures, which is why participatory workshops were developed where it was identified that the main daily problems were not hurricanes, but the lack of habitable conditions in their cities, from aspects of mobility, infrastructure, public space, accessibility, and inclusion of minority social groups. As you can see, there is no hurricane problem. It was, for them, these threats about the open space, the crossroads, etc. And they propose their strategies, as you can see over here. They propose this, how to change them. Now, based on these workshops, a comprehensive vulnerability map was developed where there are physical and social aspects that establish the areas of opportunity that serve to establish new actions, because it is already known where there are adaptive groups, which will join in the actions that has a greater scope for risk prevention. Now, all this serves to confirm that the city floods, but it's important to highlight that the causes are human activities. Disasters are not natural. they are a social construction that has consequences and leads to vulnerability, as you can see there. With all information about the site, the potential that ecosystem has to offer with services in exchange for social participation and the guarantee of mitigation actions is identified. It is about flooding the urban environment with natural spaces in areas that provide ecosystem services in exchange for the protection of participatory and conscious community. Now, these are the goals of the process. Now, with the using of natural zone to flood the urban zone with this transition area, protection areas, ecological activities, community space, community markets, open spaces, and green corridors and parks. Now, the approach allows mitigation projects to be integrated through the city to green infrastructure, nature-based solution, and governance management to mitigate risk. Now, these actions can develop mitigation scenarios with passive intervention actions with measures that integrate the inclusion of ecosystems in the city, in addition to accessibility, mobility, and social empowerment actions. As you can see, these are the risk mitigation scenarios with the wetlands, with the city, with the streets, its corridors. Now, comprehensive design management seeks to establish mechanisms through decision models that allow the population to be socially empowered, protect ecosystem, and generate environmental and social benefits as a result. It is about generating specific low impact actions with support of the same nature to coexist with risk and reduce disasters. It is about deconstructing risk through change of vision from the commercial and economic to the social and community well-being with local strategies. Is to start with this, change it to this. You don't need to make incredibly expensive intervention. You just have to embrace the change in the public space. Now, about the future. If we talk about it, risk management must be aimed at understanding the territory from a local perspective with its communities participating in all the stages that are developed. It is about knowing the territory, living with the water, and embracing risk. Act to empower communities with local governance, and above all, create our own decision models. We need to stop importing models from other places, and we need to start making our own models to make our decisions, to change our future, to make it sustainable. Now, in conclusion, disasters are not natural, they are social construction. Prevention and risk management issues must be crucial in the development of strategies and policies. The identification of vulnerable groups in addition to exposed areas promotes the development of differentiated strategies that benefit the communities. Integrated evaluations within risk management models and risk prevention policies are necessary to manage and avoid disasters. The population requires tools according to their context to face and prevent risk. Thank you very much. I hope you like the presentation and this perspective as to the construction of a sustainable future. Thank you very much. You can contact me with my email. Have a nice day. Okay, well, I finished. Thank you very much.
That was tremendous. Are there any questions from our attendees or fellow panelists? Okay, with that, this recording will be available in the future if you'd like to review it. And Jorge, thank you for sharing your contact information so that people can send you any subsequent questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.